Congratulations, world, you've done it. You finally made me snap. Teachers sued $10,000 for teaching evolution. $10,000 for teaching that the earth is round. What I've got for you today is the most ridiculous real-world news story I have ever seen. I can barely believe it. And to put that into context, in my last video, I told you about a man who became a millionaire selling magic wands to the army. Well, that pales into insignificance compared to how shockingly dumb this is about to get. And what makes today's story so bad isn't that it involves people being conned or people's stupidity being taken advantage of. It actually involves, in my opinion, a legalised attempt at religious indoctrination and brainwashing so large that I could never have imagined it possible. It involves an actual attempt to reduce the future ability of the human race to make scientific progress to practically zero. But first of all, let me just have a quick reality check. This is the year 2022, isn't it? We have sent men to the moon by now. We have sequenced the human genome. We have eradicated entire diseases from the surface of the planet. And we've even sent TJ Hooker into space. So how is it even on the verge of being possible that in the modern world, in a civilized, leading country like America, that a school teacher could be fined $10,000 for teaching about evolution or radioactive dating or gravity or why the sky is blue? Anyway, let's get going. It's time for the story that's as difficult to swallow as this flat earther's PhD certificate. To start our story, we're going to travel back in time to February 2019. Let's go. February 2019. A time before American presidents were casually pondering the effects of having disinfectant in the blood, and British prime ministers were breaking their own rules by having parties during national lockdown. A time when we were peacefully ignorant of the turbulent months ahead. And during that relative calm, in February 2019, Senator Bullard introduced the bill for the Oklahoma Science Education Act. This bill, if made law, would forbid any school to prohibit one of their teachers from helping students learn critically. Now, I know what you're thinking. On the surface, that sounds great. Students being taught to think critically. That's just good teaching. It's what we expect all teachers to do. So why the need for a new law? Well, this bill specifically states that what teachers will be allowed to critique is what they see as weaknesses of existing scientific theories. So imagine the scene. This bill would open the way for the teacher who was a young Earth creationist to be given free rein to teach the kids just how much they misunderstand the science of evolution. Or just how much they misunderstand the nature of organic matter. And then they could pass their own scientific ignorance onto those poor students. A flat earther could misrepresent all areas of science and geography because of what they see as weaknesses in the evidence. A mud flood conspiracy theorist could use images like this, and despite not knowing any of the backstory whatsoever, they could use it to question the scientific evidence that supports the age of the Earth. And the punchline to this joke is if the school don't agree with the teacher's take on what the weaknesses in scientific theories are, the teacher will be granted immunity from any civil liability or termination of employment. This bill stank of a backdoor entry for creationists and biblical flat earthers and extremists of all religions to have a free pass to spread their rhetoric unopposed for as long as it takes a flat earther to find their way out of a revolving door. In other words, forever. Now, at this point, you might think I'm overreacting and completely misjudging the intentions of that bill, but stick around because this is only the tip of the iceberg. You see, fast forward a few short minutes and the Oklahoma Senate Committee voted against this bill, seemingly shutting the door to science deniers who would damage the education of our kids. Or did it? Okay, bit dramatic. Anyway, meet Rob Standridge. Although it's hard to believe, this man is a real-world senator in a real-world civilized country. And under his watch, science deniers wouldn't only get fresh hope, but financial incentive to insert the religious beliefs into the science classroom. So when I mention Isaac Newton talking about human race making progress by standing on the shoulders of giants, I now believe that he only said that because he knew we needed to see over the top of people like this man who were blocking the view. Publicly, Standridge seems to talk the talk of being strongly against censorship, and in one Facebook post he said, "Just so the cancel culture leftists know, your day is ending. Everyday common sense citizens are getting sick of this ludicrous mindset and are absolutely fed up with intolerance in the name of tolerance if you happen to disagree with the woke cancel culture insanity." Now, this is a stance that no doubt earns him respect as somebody who fully supports the right for people to speak their minds without political correctness and without social justice putting a muzzle on them. Surely, this is a man who would stand for no nonsense. But actions speak louder than words, and his actions surely betray that stance. Rob Standridge is the author of Senate Bill 1142, known by many simply as the textbook bill. And the most shocking thing about this bill is that it was passed, and it will become law on July the 1st, 2022. So let's have a look at the version that Standridge authored, and while we're doing that, let's remember that these are the words of a man who likes to treat censorship in the same way that Will Smith's hand treats Chris Rock's face. Standridge wrote that no school library should contain books in which the primary subject is the study of sex. And again, on the surface, that seems okay. Nobody expects to find a copy of the Kama Sutra in a school library. But let us remember that as far as some parents are concerned, books like this also fall into that category. Currently, a parent who has strong religious beliefs and doesn't want reproductive biology taught to their child because of those beliefs may ask for their child to be removed from certain classes so they don't have to study it. I'm a science teacher myself, and I've experienced this myself. And in general, that's fine and understandable. Schools are made from different cultures, and some cultures want their children to find out about the birds and the bees on their own. Just don't expect them ever to grow up and work in a family planning clinic. But this law is different. This law will give parents, any parent, the right not just to stop their own child from learning reproductive biology, but they could demand that the school removes all such books from their library so nobody else can learn it. That's right, just one single complaining parent can use their own religious beliefs to censor an entire library. And if the school decide they don't agree and won't remove the book, then the librarian or anybody else responsible will be sacked and banned from working in a public school for another 2 years. Now get ready for the best bit, the financial incentive for parents to complain. You see, any parent who complains and whose complaint isn't taken seriously are able to seek monetary damages. Monetary damages of $10,000 a day, $10,000 a day that the book is not removed from that library. I mean, damages for what? Apart from being a massive bellend. Now, I did say that this bill had been passed, but before it was passed, it was amended. And luckily, Standridge's what I can only call attempt at bullying school librarians has been erased. And now instead, in the current amended form of the bill, a school is allowed to at least try and explain why it won't remove a book from the library before being taken to court. But don't worry, because if this bill isn't going to be allowed to bully school librarians, then Standridge's next spectacular bill is aimed at bullying literally anybody in a school. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen, time for the climax. A phrase I imagine that will soon be banned in school libraries in Oklahoma. Meet Senate Bill 1470, a bill so incredibly unique that I just had to immediately print it off so I could wipe my arse on it. This bill, which was advanced only last month, goes by the name of the Students' Religious Belief Protection Act, and it would allow students and their parents to sue teachers $10,000. $10,000 if they promote material that is in opposition to their religious beliefs. That's $10,000 per incident. And here it is in black and white. A parent or a guardian may bring an action against a public school when that school promotes positions in opposition to closely held religious beliefs of the student. So anyone, for example, who hurts the little feelings of a Bible literalist by telling them that the earth is a little bit older than 6,000 years old should be strictly liable for damages at a minimum of $10,000 per incident per individual. So a teacher could teach a class in the morning, and 8 of those students may be children of young earth creationists. They might teach a class in the afternoon, and 8 of those children might be children of biblical flat earthers. And they may teach about gravity and evolution, and by the end of the day, just for doing their job, they owe $160,000 in damages. And if you think a poor teacher stung by this could contact the news and maybe start a GoFundMe to help them, that is not an option, because all persons found liable for damages must make payment from their own personal resources. And if they're caught trying to get around that loophole by getting help from individuals or groups, they'll be sacked and banned from teaching for 5 years. A study in 2017 showed that 71% of adults in Oklahoma believe in God with absolute certainty, and 66% of Oklahoma adults classify themselves as very highly religious. It's no secret that many adults in Oklahoma are young earth creationists or biblical flat earthers, and this bill will allow just one scientifically illiterate Bible literalist to derail the way science is taught in an entire school and get paid for it. Ultimately, this bill will ensure that contradicting religious texts in schools in Oklahoma will be outlawed using fear, and science education as a result will be driven back hundreds of years. And we all know the dangers of allowing religion to dominate education. Let's not go there. So take a bow, Rob Standridge, for the most ridiculous thing I will ever see a politician suggest in 100 lifetimes. I'll be keeping tabs on the progress of this bill for sure. Okay, today class we're going to learn a little geography. How about looking at tectonic plates and continental drift? Yes, Billy. Sir, in my house we believe that the Bible says the earth is flat. So why are you teaching us that continental drift is driven by convection currents in the mantle of a spherical earth? Ding! $10,000 please! Okay. Let's learn a little bit about radioactive decay then, shall we? Yes, Paige. Sir, my dad is a creationist, and he says that the half-life of elements on Earth can change. So why are you teaching us that it's a constant? Ding! $10,000, please. Okay, how about a little astronomy? Ding! $10,000, please. Newton's laws? Ding! $10,000, please. Rock formation? Ding! I could go on. And I will, in a live stream next week. Well, I'll be looking at the Oklahoma Academic Standards for Science and show just how badly it will be destroyed by this stupidity. Until then, meow.